Is coaching worth the money? You probably heard of people who have a coach. And of course, they have ideas in mind what this coach should achieve for them. And often you wonder, is coaching worth the money? Because there's a lot of material on the internet available. However, the industry is not, or just very little, regulated. And the question is, where are the advantages? Where are the possibilities and opportunities? But also, where are the limitations of coaching? And that's exactly what we are going to talk about today. When we look into what is the situation right now, many people have a coach and they have a wish. And normally these wishes sound like, oh, I want to go to the next level. I want to develop further. I want to boost my career, make more money. Normally the top 10 sound pretty similar in every single industry with every single person. However, when you look at the market of coaches, the problem is that there is very little regulation about coaching in general. And also there are so many people on the market because the title of coach is not protected. It is very hard to ask people or to find out if people are actually qualified. To get an overview is close to impossible. So that's why we are talking about today, what is coaching? And no, not only what is coaching, but is coaching worth the money? If you only want to have a very short answer, is coaching worth the money? Is there scientific evidence? Is there a proof that coaching works? The answer is yes, but. And there's a big but coming with it. And we're going to talk about the scientific evidence. And then, of course, what do you need to make coaching possible in a successful way? So first of all, there is strong scientific evidence. The Metrics Global study looked into coaching. And when coaching is done properly, that is a very important part here. When coaching is done properly, it means that you have an ROI of, buckle up, 788%, according to the Metrics Global study. That is, of course, a staggering amount of ROI. You do not get this ROI on anything or any investment. So why do not all people have a coach within their organization? Well, as I said, when coaching is done right, when coaching is done correctly, when coaching is done properly, you have a up to 788% ROI. However, the problem here is many organizations don't do it properly. Often you have something like, oh, do you know someone? Yeah, I know someone. Yeah, let's book that person. Here's the money, and there we go. When we look into other studies, and of course there's more scientific evidence to it, the ICF just found out 70% individual performance boost with proper coaching, 50% team performance boost, and almost 50%, 48% to be more specific, plus on organizational performance. Of course, you could now say, well, the ICF is the International Coaching Federation. Of course, a coaching federation will say that coaching is very effective and efficient. Is there a certain bias involved? Even if we leave that study out, we still have the Metrics Global study. And if we look into additional scientific work, for example, of Gerald Oliver, Denise Bain, or Richard Kopelman, published in the Public Personal Management magazine just recently, if you enhance someone's knowledge, so let's say you teach someone how to use and how to work at a certain machine, let's say you're on a production plant, and you teach someone, you instruct someone how to use and work at a certain machine properly, or probably more efficiently, more effectively, or both, you have a boost of 22% in productivity. When you do it with proper coaching, it is 4 times as much, 88%. Where does this come from? You can be the best person working at that machine. However, when you operate the machine properly, but you're very bad at communication, conflict management, you have no idea about the supply chain, you have no idea about project management or organizational psychology, you probably do not know what's happening around you. So you still operate the machine properly. However, everything else falls apart. So coaching there's a massive pivot that helps you to be better at what you do. Again, when coaching is done properly. And now we get to the next 2 points, which are very important. There is the coach and the coachee, which is why I always say, take care coach and take care coachee. So look at the take care coach aspect first. When you choose a coach, first, be aware of the fact that this job is not protected. If you decide to change your LinkedIn profile tomorrow and set up a website and say you are Coach XYZ, no one can stop you from doing so. And also, and this is something where I have to criticize my own industry, the industry in which I work, many of the associations are a home for pseudo-scientific nonsense. There are events and more events and more events. Some people pay to be on a stage. People go to these events often being unpaid while they charge record sums of money for you, which doesn't fit together at all. Either you get paid or you don't. When there's massive ego involved, you have these pseudo stages. It's not that you get on a stage because you achieved it. You probably were part of a non-diverse network, as these associations are often very non-diverse. And this goes as far that you can actually buy awards, fake awards, vanity awards, it's called. So you face these associations, and many of them, training, speaking, and coaching, I really can tell you, if you see someone who's very active in these associations, that's a massive red flag, and I would most likely recommend you not to work with that person, because associations are normally there to protect something. However, trainers, speakers, coaches are not really persecuted, so you don't need the representation. Also, when you see how many people are on the market acting successfully with a profound set of knowledge, and the very low numbers of membership from these people, from these associations, then you see these associations are not official trade bodies. They are not even relevant. And these fake awards, by the way, have very nice names. So it's either top 99 or top 101 trainer, speaker, coaches, whatever, entrepreneurs, entertainers, top something with a certain number behind it, top XYZ, speaker, trainer, coaches, entrepreneurs. Normally they add other words. So either it is the Success Award or the Success Magazine or Success this and that or the winner, blah, blah, blah. They always use buzzwords. And people simply pay to get on these ego lists. The relevance of these people and these magazines and awards is absolutely zero. If you are impressed by these awards, you really need to question if you did your research properly, because you most likely didn't. If you now look into qualifications, so first, someone must be an expert on the subject matter, which means they published about that. Books, podcasts, whatever it is, people, experts publish. That's what they do. And they must have a practical experience in the field which they are coaching or training or speaking about or whatever. If you want to, for example, I'll just give you a very simple example. If you want to coach leaders, you must be a leader. You must have been a leader in real world enterprise. And I mean a leader by meritocracy. You earned your way. You worked your way up into that position, not you inherited a company and suddenly you were a leader because your father or mother told you to be one. If a parent tells you, oh, this is the inheritance for you, and suddenly you call yourself a leader, that is beyond ridiculous. It's called privilege, not leadership. And also, and I know that many people will not like what I say right now. By the way, I often criticize these associations publicly, which is why many people hate me. This went so far that the agitation against me already had legal consequences for the people who either talked down on me, attacked me, harassed me, including homophobia. We had anti-Semitism. So quite a number of people who were in legal arguments with me, who were all lost by the other side. Now learn probably a lesson. I don't want to send them an invoice for coaching. However, these associations often hate me for criticizing them because, of course, these networks are non-diverse networks where people promote each other into the next business. So you promote a friend and the friend promotes you, and backwards. These networks are insider deals with no value for clients whatsoever. The qualification that the person as a coach needs to have must be scientific. If someone does not have, and I do not mean these industry certificates where one coach coaches the next coach. In one magazine, they said, and they are absolutely right about that, they had the impression that at the moment there are more trainers, speakers, and coach educators on the market who educate, train, and coach and speak to the next generation of people who educate, train, and coach the next generation. So people coach, train, and speak to each other. Absolute incestuous, inside the industry nonsense. People need to have a scientific qualification. Scientific qualification, there are many different ways from degrees to certificates. However, scientific qualification means a university, a registered, public, and publicly accepted university in your country, for example, gave a proof for what they achieved as a qualification. If someone says, oh, my school is the school of life, yeah, thank you very much. Next, please. And by the way, self-reported effects do not count. So if someone just says, oh, I like this coach very much, it helped me so much. And here you have to be very honest to yourself. And I'm going to tell you my story about that in a minute. There is something called the sunken cost fallacy. The sunken cost fallacy means you most likely will agree that something you paid money for is great, because otherwise you have to admit that you made a really bad investment. And this level of self-reflection, very few people have. So what does that mean? I just give you a very simple example. When I went to the gym, for example, I for months told me, oh, even if I don't go that often anymore, it is nice to have the option to go. That's what I pay for the option. No, I simply wasted my money because I didn't go. A gym pays off when you go, full stop. When you, for example, let's say during the pandemic, probably purchase one of these fitness bikes with online classes, I'm not going to name the product name here, you most likely already know what I'm talking about. If you buy one of these fitness bikes where the vast majority of people purchase the bike for thousands of euros, dollars, or pounds, then subscribe to the service, and now it's standing somewhere in your living room or somewhere else and you do not use it. However, you will not sell it. You will not put it in the cellar and say, sorry, that was wrong, because you most likely pay the subscription every month for, and here we go again, having the option to use it anytime you like. And that is exactly the problem. The sunken cost fallacy means that people who wasted money on something will most likely tell it was amazing, not to admit that they did a bad investment. And I can tell you, to all these motivational, inspirational speaker, trainer, coaches, I've been with them as a young entrepreneur. I lost a significant 5-digit amount of money with them. The result of that, which I admitted a couple of years later, was absolutely nothing. Plain nonsense, just someone telling you, you are amazing, you make it, you will be famous in the future. Absolute, utter nonsense. And of course, besides the qualification on the subject matter expertise, the practical qualification, and the scientific qualification, you also need to pay your coach properly. And there are certain guidelines. So, for example, in Germany, the Bildungsserver, which means the server for education, it's a government project led by highly ranked and very well-known scientists. And they looked into what is the usual payment for a coach. And as you all know, federal level publications always recommend at the lowest end of the scale. And they put coaches into trainers into three different categories: starters, professionals, and senior professionals. And as it is published in Germany, they use euros, but you can, of course, translate it into any currency you use. So starters charge from 220 euros per hour, professionals from 275 euros per hour, and senior professionals from 440 euros per hour. And when you now think, oh, that's insane, it's way too expensive. So first, it's not, because you need to know what a proper coach does when you book them for coaching. And I give you an example. If you get 1 hour of coaching, to prepare this hour properly, it normally takes for a good coach an hour and a half to prepare it properly with all the different options the person has in mind. And you must be prepared for every single option available. When the coaching is done, it needs to be properly documented. What have you achieved? What haven't you achieved? Open topics, agreed to do, whatever, next steps. And you can normally, as a rule of thumb, you can say when you experience 1 hour of coaching, which by the way, normally is 45 minutes, it is 3 hours of work for the coach. So 440 euros per hour divided by 3, you're just a bit more than the usual handyman you book. So it's absolutely reasonable. Please look into scientific evidence before you make a judgment. And after we now talked about the coach, we also have to talk about the coachee. And the coachee, it always means that the person needs to agree to be coached on their free will. If you force someone to be coached, there might, of course, always be this one story of the person who didn't want to be coached, and then they were so happy that they got coached. Yes, that might be the exception to the rule. In general, if someone doesn't want to be coached, it is pointless to give them a coach. If someone does not agree to be coached, they will not succeed with whatever the coach tries to do, because they will say, I do it my way, and I have no interest in any kind of other opinion. So when you have someone who wants to be coached, that is the starting point. Then, and that's step number 2 when you talk about the coachee. The goal has to be clearly defined. There is a discussion with the coach before you start. As soon as you have coaches who say, oh, I have this amazing online class, you only have to buy it and it tells you the success principle and the 7 habits of highly successful people, blah, blah, blah. It's all nonsense. Unscientific nonsense. When someone says, I have an online class for anyone, no matter if you're an engineer or if you're a product manager or salesperson in a noodle factory, it is obvious that this cannot be true. So you need to have a proper chat up front. Sometimes it's very quick. Sometimes it's 15 minutes. Sometimes it takes way longer time. And sometimes, and I had that as well, sometimes you meet people and you simply say, sorry, you're looking for something I cannot deliver, or you want to learn a method which is so unreasonable and far away from reality that I do not agree to coach you on these methods. Sometimes you have a first chat and you say, sorry, we are just not a fit. And that happens. Third aspect when it comes to the coachee, you need to have commitment when you need to deliver on the promises you agree on. So first, the coach must be available. That promise must be kept. Second, the coachee, when they agree on next steps, you have to deliver on the next steps, not only talk about them, but deliver them in real world practice. And third, the organization of the coachee's organization has to agree and support on these steps. When you, for example, as an organization say, hey, we want to coach our leaders, could you please make them amazing? But in reality, you don't really care about sustainable leadership. As long as you make money, you don't care about people. You probably most likely will not achieve the result you want to have, meaning a lower employee turnover. And the reason is because the organization did not support the coachee in delivering on the promises they agreed between the coach and the coachee. So when it comes to commitment, look at coach, coachee, and the organization. Summing it all up, long story short, is coaching worth the money? Yes, but all factors must be considered, which I just mentioned. There is strong scientific evidence that coaching works. However, you need to contribute to make it work. Scientific evidence clearly says coaching is very helpful. When you stick to the rules, which I just mentioned, I wish you all the best doing your coaching with your coach in your organization. And of course, there's more to this. When you now say, hey, I have a load of questions, and thank you very much for the emails I received during the last weeks, very productive discussions. Thank you very much for this. Just drop me an email, nb@nb-networks.com. You also find the email address in the show notes of this podcast. If you have something very specific, you need someone for training, speaking, coaching, just let me know. But nb@nb-networks.com at this email address. You can just also post your question, and then we exchange emails, write back and forth, or we agree on a call, whatever you prefer. Second step, which I always recommend, sign up for the leadership letter, because we have live sessions where you can ask me live questions. If you go to expert.nb-networks.com, you also find the link to the leadership letter in the show notes. Then you can sign up there and you get access to everything I publish without a paywall, without paying anything. It's free access, but only via that channel. And of course, where and when these Q&As will happen is only mentioned in the expert letter. So go to expert.nb-networks.com. You see the link in the show notes as well, and then sign up there. You receive just one email per week every Wednesday morning, and it's 100% content at free guarantee. And the third step is the most important one. Apply what you heard in this podcast, because only when you apply what you heard, you will see the positive change that you want to see in your organization or your personal and professional life. I wish you all the best doing so. If you need any help, let me know. And at the end of this podcast, there's only one thing left for me to say. Thank you very much for your time.